Joining me on GCS Today is Morgan Stewart. She is the social worker at John Chavis Middle School, and she also is the current Gaston County Schools Social Worker of the Year. Morgan, that's a mouthful. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Okay, so today we are focusing on student attendance. So tell us about why it's so important for students to be at school every day.
I think when we look at student attendance, we don't just think about, sitting in a classroom and what they're learning in math or science or English that day. We have to think about all the supports we also put in place for our students in Gaston County schools. So we can have students who are part of school-based therapy, or they check in with the counselor every day, or they could be students who benefit from our speech programs that we have, our OT programs. We have so many different supports in our schools. And so if we have a child who's not attending school on a regular basis, they're also missing out on all those supports that we provide for them. And, we have a 7.5 hour school day. There's only so much we can put into one. So when you miss one day here and there, all that time adds up. And so now you've missed hours of your speech time that children need to progress through school, and hours of math curriculum, and just different things like that that truly make a holistic look of what education looks like for our kids.
I think you make a great point that when you are not at school, when the student's not at school, that student misses out on class time, but also on extracurricular other activities and the supports that are in place to help the student.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And that's a huge piece of it.
So what connections are there between regular school attendance and student achievement?
Oh, I think those go definitely hand in hand that we can see, right off the bat. So, and some great facts that I always kind of look at is, and I also have worked in elementaries as well. So when people think, oh, we're just going to miss a day here and there. Well, if you miss 2 days a month, you've missed 10% of your school year. 10% of everything that your child needed to learn for that year. And some of the facts and figures that I kind of work off of are like kindergartners who are chronically absent. They have a 61% chance of being held back by third grade for reading below grade level. And that's astounding, because I have had people honestly say, it's just kindergarten. We're just going to miss a day here and there. And that may be a logical thought for so many that, what are we learning? Well, that's your fundamentals. That's your foundational skills. And things like reading on grade level, that's so important because every year we're just building. So if we have to start over and learn our phonics when we're already in second grade, and those are things we learned in kindergarten, we're way behind where we should be. And other students in the class are progressing forward. And you have to think about how that child feels of, well, I didn't get to pick a chapter book when we went to the library today because I can't read on that level yet, but I know my friends can. Well, those friends may have had great attendance in the beginning of their education, or we may have had a student who was chronically absent due to other reasons, and all that catches up to you. So by like the sixth grade, if you have chronic absences, that's a leading indicator that you could be a high school dropout. So by the time you're 11 years old in sixth grade, it foreshadows what high school could look for you. And that's detrimental, because I always push kids that graduating high school is so much more than just an achievement. It sets you up for life and all the things that you could accomplish.
Well, I think that you make a good point in that kindergarten, the early grades, they provide the foundation for learning. And if a child gets behind early on, it is a challenge to get caught up. You can get caught up, but it takes a lot of extra work and effort to get caught up to where you need to be.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about when a child is not at school. Let's talk about some of the issues that a child may encounter. And you've mentioned some of those, but elaborate on some of the supports. One that comes to mind is school nutrition. We have children that rely on the meals that are served at school.
Absolutely. And I always say, from a social work standpoint, I feel so much better when I know my students are in the building. I know they had the opportunity to eat twice that day. They have the opportunity to tell several adults throughout the day, if there's a food insecurity at home, we have that resource. I'll have it to your house before you get off the bus that day if you let us know. And I always say I feel better when I know multiple adults have laid eyes on that child. Because what if it's something where we have a child who's getting on the bus at 6 a.m. and it's cold outside right now and they don't have the proper coat or gloves or hats? I have the ability to make sure that child has that before the end of the day. So it's so much more than just the academic standpoint. We make sure you have exactly what you need. But if you're not in the building for us to make those connections, then we've already missed it. And then that could keep you from coming the next day or the next day. If it's snowing outside or it's sleety, everybody's got their hats and gloves. People don't think about it, but our kids are sitting at the bus stop. It's 28 degrees sometimes, and they still need these proper things. So we as school social workers can always make sure our kids have what they need. And part of that is making sure that when they're in the building, we're making sure all their needs are met.
So what message do you have for students? What would you tell them? Why is it so important for you to be here at school every day?
Coming to school every day, that's their job from kindergarten to high school. And it creates such a healthy habit to have that good routine. You get up in the morning, you get ready for school. You know what time you have to be there. You have to practice to make sure that you're going to be there on time. You have what you need. We're setting up those great habits and foundations for life, because when you get out of high school, no matter where you go, the workforce, the military, college, they're going to assume that you know how to get somewhere on time and be prepared to do so. You're not coming into work tardy, because that doesn't look good for your character. It's the same way at school, to be prepared for those things. So I think sometimes students maybe don't understand that at such a young age, that we're setting you up to have these great foundation skills to have you prepared for life.
I like that mindset, getting students to realize from kindergarten through 12th grade, coming to school, that is your job. I like that mindset.
Yes, sir.
So aside from stressing that state law requires students ages 7 to 16 to attend school, what else would you like to remind parents about school attendance? What else should parents keep in mind?
I think it's the great thing about we're here to help you. And oftentimes, when you start talking about the law, it's almost like we're not here to help you, but we are. Because if there is a need in your home, we want to make sure that you have that. And that's part of one of the best things about my job is I get to go meet people. It's not a big deal for me to go on 7 home visits in the middle of the day to make sure that my families have everything they need. But again, if your kids aren't in school, I may miss that because I'm not able to make that connection with them during the day. So right now, I do know that I had a family that didn't have heat because that child was able to tell me. So I was able to go and get 5 space heaters until that family was able to get their heat fixed. I was able to provide that one resource because that child was at school and able to tell me. I just went, I took it. That mother was forever grateful. She didn't have to ask. That baby spoke everything she needed to tell me because she was so cold when she came the next day. And that's no fault of the family. That's life in general. And I think sometimes we have to remember these are kids, but they are going through all the phases of life that we've come through. And I think COVID showed us a lot of what our babies had to be resilient. And they learned so much about resiliency through going through this life with their parents and their families. And so we're able to aid them any way that we can to make sure they are supported and have exactly what they need.
So you are the Gaston County School Social Worker of the Year. Tell us about your work as a school social worker. How do you believe you are being a positive influence on students?
Well, anybody who knows me will tell you I'm probably one of the loudest people, but I'm probably one of the happiest. I know that I'm blessed every morning to wake up, and I want my students to understand that I'm so happy to see them every day. So when I'm working car rider duty in the morning and I'm seeing kids get off the bus, I want to make sure they know I'm so happy to see you. I'm so glad you're here, because there is a good chance that many of our students get themselves up and get themselves ready in the morning because their parents had to go to work before the bus came. So we may have had a student who got themselves up, got themselves ready, got on the bus, came to school, and we could be the first adult that they see besides the bus driver. And I want them to know, I'm so glad you're here. Today's going to be a great day. What are you looking forward to today? It's that little engagement that is the best part of what I get to do, is seeing kids bright and early Sometimes they look at you and they're sleeping. You're like, no, 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 it's going to be a great day. I heard you're doing this today in art class and different things. And we really get to set a tone for kids, and that can carry them through the entire school day. And I love that.
I think you are showing us the role of the school social worker and how you play such an important role in ensuring student success. It goes beyond just what happens in the classroom.
Absolutely. The school, I mean, we're a whole unit, and every piece of the puzzle, all of us that are in the building, we make sure that we are taking care of that kid the best way that we can.
So tell us, what do you enjoy the most about your work as a school social worker?
I will say that my job is completely unique and so different from what a school teacher or the school counselor or any of our support staff really get to do, because I have the ability to make sure those kids' needs are being met outside the building. I go on home visits pretty much every day because I enjoy that part of my job of meeting with the families and seeing where our kids come from and seeing what means the most to them, because building that rapport with these kids, that's what they need, and having that connection with an adult in the building. So I will be the first to say, I love to go to children's homes and meet their families and their grandparents and their pets. Kids love to tell you about their pets. They think it's the coolest thing ever. And so if I can say, I did go to your house, I want to hear how in the world you convinced your parents to get you a pet iguana. The amount of iguanas that we have really shocks me. And kids love that because you were the one that took the time out to get to know that family on a deeper level. And so now that I've made that connection with the family, they know my name, they know my face, they know how to get in contact with me. So if there ever is something that they struggle with, they have a question about, and they don't know who to call, they're going to call me because I've already made that impact to let them know that I am here with whatever they could need. And so every day I feel reassured that I made the right decision with the job that I have, because every day I feel like I make an impact, and it's the best part.
And we want to reiterate what you said earlier in regard to student attendance. Students coming to school, that's your job. That's what's expected. And when you are at school on a regular basis, it really has a connection to making sure that you are successful at every grade level and then beyond high school. And I do think, Morgan, it's important to point out that when students are sick, we want students to stay at home when they are sick. But if you are not sick, you need to be at school.
Every day, all day long. That is the key to keeping students successful, is to keeping them in that routine. Absolutely.
Morgan, we also want to congratulate you on being the Gaston County Schools Social Worker of the Year, and we want to thank you for joining us here today on GCS Today.
Thank you, sir. I greatly appreciate it.